FNAF franchise is massive, having over 10 games in the whole series with 6 mainline games, 1 custom night-based game, 2 VR games, a Pokemon Go ripoff, and my personal favourite, Security Breach, and it's bound to have fan games over its popularity. There are lots of them like One Nights at Flumpty's, FNAF Juniors, The Return to Bloody Nights, Return to Freddy's, and more popular ones that are in the FazBear fanverse like the Joy of Creation Story Mode, Pop Goes, and the more well-known classic for me, Five Nights at Candy's. This game is basically FNAF 1, only with different mechanics and characters. The game was released in 2015, around only when FNAF 1 to 3 was released. The game went to be unpopular enough that it had 2 more games created and 1 spin-off. But then in 2019, the creator FNAC Emil Mako released Five Nights at Candy's Remastered. The game is a remaster of the one back from 2015 and had a much more improved graphic, renders, and a lot more. This also included more content, like a Secrets 8th Night or otherwise known as Night Null, with a Shadow Candy boss fight. Now this is pretty cool, but I don't plan on recreating this boss fight, or at least in this video. Now that we have everything we need to know, let's start working on this project. So here's the outlines at the moment we have for the Candy's location, and this is going to be more based on the remastered version because it's more improved than the first one. So as you can see, we have the office where we would have the desk in front of us with the window, and then the 2 doors on either side. I've also added an entrance to give the place a more realistic feel, and I just use my imagination here. We also have the 2 bathrooms here, and then the main stage where Cindy and Candy would be performing. I've also added the kitchen where the penguin would be, and also parts and service where old Candy would be, and then the secrets to camera 13. So now that with the outlines over with, that means we can now start going on with the speed build. I've now completed the pizzeria. I've also added the armor stand models myself. So as you can see, we have these armor stand models on the desk, like the burger, lamp, and fan, the clock to display the time, the monitor that tells us the power, and the candy plush that I would usually just use one head for, but I've used a bunch of different armor stands to give him more detail of what I usually would do. And I've done this throughout the whole pizzeria where I needed to, like these boxes in the shelves, and over here I have this cutout of an old candy, and then I've also added the map art around the pizzeria myself. So I've put it where I needed it to, and it looks very fine in my opinion, and I like how it turned out. The pizzeria is nice and fun, and if I were to clear the night vision, I've actually added no light blocks besides the one in the office, because the location is actually pitch black compared to how it is in other FNAF games, because we'll have to use the night vision on the cameras. I've also added black concrete in the doorways and the buttons, so the first thing we're going to do is make the doors. We'll click that, it'll go up, we'll click it again, and it'll go back up. And this is just a classic FNAF 1 door where it goes up and down. We'd have to do this for the window and the other door, so let's see how we can make it work. So now that I've finished up with all of the 3 doors that are in the office, and if we click them, each one will close individually with a nice smooth animation, just similar how they work in candies. And this is a pretty simple setup and isn't all that difficult. I've also made it so the button changes color to give the button a slight glow to make it look like the player has closed the door and just give it a better realistic feel. Now here are the setup that make it work. It's pretty simple. It just detects if there's a scoreboard, a left door, right door, or window, if it's open or closed, and if we click the button inside the office. And then it'll do a few things. The first, it will set the score to either 1 or 2, and then it will set the button to the corresponding button and clone these frames in order to make it look like the door is either opening or closing, depending which button you have clicked on which doorway. It works the same for the window as well, and it's just pretty simple. And the only difference between the window and the doors is instead of there being 3 frames, there's only 2 frames. So, as you can see, if I were to click this again, it would close up, and it's a nice smooth animation like I've used for other recreations in my builds. So I've removed the roof of the map for a more bit of accessibility and marched down each camera location with an orange concrete block around the location, just so I know where the player will be teleported and give me a bit of sense of where I'm going to be teleported. I've done this for every single camera in the map and tried to make them as accurate as I could to the games. Now these range of all different above levels, about on ground, just on above ground, or somewhere in between, like this one right here. Now all we have to do is make the player to be able to teleport to each one. The camera setup, as you can see, we have 2 chests here, one for the first page and one for the second, and in them are the items for the cameras, one of the black ones, and then one of the green ones to indicate if you have the cam selected or not. And then we have the next page item, which will cycle through these cameras into page 2, and they also have a selected and non-selected variant. Then there's a previous page item, which will cycle back between these ones, which have the same name. So now all we have to do is activate the cameras. So I've set up a scoreboard display on the side, and as you can see, I've made a crouch detector, so it detects when you crouch, and when you crouch, as you can see, it will start increasing, and when I stop, it won't. So if we just go into this command block here, this detects if the cam crouch score matches 1 or higher, and if it does, it will set it back to 0, and if I flick that lever, as you can see, it stays to 1, and if I stop crouching, it will go back to 0. So now we have a quick way to go in and out of the cameras. So here I have this set up right here, and as you can see, inside this command block, it detects if a scoreboard is now on match 1, and if we're not on the cameras. And if we're not and we crouch, it will then run this, it will run these 2 command blocks, which will first set the scoreboard of the cameras onto 1, and just for now, say cam's active. And this does the opposite and detects when you crouch while the cameras are on, which will turn them off and say not active. So if we crouch, it says cam's active, and then if we crouch again, it would say cam not active. Now at the moment, all it does is say this, and we're going to need to change it. So instead of just saying cam active, cam not active, in these command blocks, we'll have to make it so it gives us these items in these chests. Now that I've set that up, I've set up the first 3 cameras to work. So as you can see, here's the setup, and I've changed a bit of how it's detecting. So I've moved it from here to down here, and it's the exact same command that detects if the cameras aren't on, and if we crouch or not, and then it will detect if we have crouch when it is. Then it will give us all of the items in this chest here, depending on which page we have selected. And since I've only done the first 3 cameras, there is no second page, so it will stop at the last hotbar, before after a short delay, it will turn the cameras on so you can't cycle through it really quickly on accident. As you can see, and then this is the same one as before, but this just replaces them with air before setting the camera to off, and then just teleporting us back into the office, which is pretty simple. And these are the commands that detect if we've thrown an item. So this will detect if I've thrown the cam 1 item, which will give me all of those items, including the selected cam 1, and make the scoreboard selected cam. And this will detect if I have that selected, and then it will teleport us there before giving the selected item of what we have thrown, and then it will teleport us into that position, depending on which camera we have selected. So if I place a comparator there and crouch, I've now been given all the camera items. I cannot move and I'm stuck facing the camera 1, which would be the stage. And if I throw the second item, we are now at the shortest delay possible, infinitely teleported to here, and we can go in and out of the cameras, and we can be teleported back into the office, and we can also throw the other items, and it also has a memory system. So as you can see, I've selected cam 2, and if I activate the cameras again, I'm now back on cam 2. Same if I to do cam 1, but at the moment none of the other items work yet, so we're going to have to implement that by just doing the same thing I've done before, just by doing it again for the others. I've now completed the first page of cameras, as you can see here, and it's just the same setup with a few more changes, so it will work well. So as you can see, we have all of the items in the next page item, and if we come down here, as you can see, if we'll crouch, we're given the items, and we can select each and every one of camera now in the first page, and we are teleported to that corresponding location. And if I crouch, the memory system still works for the other cameras, and I can select any other camera and the memory system will work. So now, the next page item doesn't actually work yet, which is the next thing we're going to need to do, which is make it so the player is given the second page of items, so then they can have access to the second page and the rest of the cameras. I have now completed the rest of the camera system, as you can see here, and the second page. Now that will work as the other ones do, and the second page item just works almost identically, except instead of giving you the same items just to select it, it'll give you the second page. Same works over here, you'll just set the cam page to 1 or 2, depending if you're throwing the previous or next page item. Cam 13 works differently because it requires a scoreboard to detect if it's active. So there's a scoreboard labeled is cam 13 on, and it will only power if the cam 13 score is on 1, so you don't have the camera 13 when you're not supposed to. And if you don't have it, it will just remove the hotbar 4 with air, which is where cam 13 would be located. And it works over here, so if I'll just show this off by placing the comparator here and crouch, as you can see I'm given the items like before, I can scroll through each one, but this time I actually have access to the second page. So I can also select them, but the night vision doesn't work yet, and now I have access to the other remaining 4 cameras: parts service, the drawing room, and the primary party room. And at the moment we don't have it, but if I set cam 13 to active, you can see that we now have access to the camera 13, and if I get rid of it, we are then kicked off of camera 13 and no longer have the item in our inventory. This now pretty much wraps up the camera system, and the only thing I'll need to do now is make it so when we select the current item, you can actually turn on the night vision, because the cameras will actually be pitch black dark. And like I said, the memory system still works like it does before, even for the second page, and this is probably the best camera system I've recreated by far. An idea of how the night vision system is going to work, and it only relies on these 3 command blocks per camera. So it detects if you've thrown a selected item in your inventory, just like in Candy's itself, and then it will give you that item back before adding 1 to the night vision toggle. And to make sure it doesn't go higher than 2, this command block is detecting if it reaches 3 or higher, and if it does, it will set the score instantly back to 1 with no delay, so it can toggle between 1 or 2 depending if the night vision is on or off. And now all we have to do is to copy this for all the other cameras. But at the moment, if I to show this off and crouch and activate the cameras, as you can see, if I throw the cameras, the night vision are now off, and if I throw it, it's back on again. You can just throw each item to toggle the cameras, and if you get out of the cameras, just like the memory system, this also has a memory system, so you don't have to turn the night vision back on once you have exited the cameras. And it's just much better. Now all we'll have to do is do the same thing for the other cameras, because at the moment the night vision does not work, only for this camera. So now all we have to do is make it for the rest of the cameras in the page, which will just be copying this over and over again for each different camera. Now with my night vision now removed, as you can see, I can see the light inside the office, and if I crouch, as you can see, it's pitch dark because we have a blindness and slowness effect, so we cannot see anything inside the cameras. And if we were to select the items, as you can see, we are now removed that blindness and slowness effect, which allows us to see a bit more inside. And instead of giving us night vision, because I think this is a bit too bright to see around the location, I have a different idea of how we can make things a bit more visible. So instead of having preset light blocks, instead I have an idea of where there is an entity, in this case an armor stand, where these 2 command blocks will make sure that the location of this armor stand is a light block of level 5. So as you can see, the light block will be a level 5 of wherever the entity is, and that will detect if the entity is no longer on that block, and will remove the night vision. So what it will do, then this will now detect by clearing the blindness, and then it should teleport this armor stand to our location instead of manually setting the light blocks ourselves. Now with that function added in, as you can see here's the entity, I've also added the repeating command blocks on top of the night vision toggle that will teleport the armor stand to our location, which is pretty helpful, and if it's not, it'll just set teleport the armor stand back to that position so it's no longer inside the location when the night vision's off. So if I were to show this off to you guys, as you can see, we just have to set a comparator here, and then it will detect when I crouch, and as you can see I don't have the night vision active, but if I throw it, I have to throw it again, and as you can see the armor stand is now being teleported to us, which is now resetting the light into the other blocks, and if I throw it again and turn off the night vision, the light will be removed. This is a pretty handy system, and instead of placing the light blocks ourselves, it's pretty handy and I like how it turned out. So we can select through each and every one of these cameras and it will be saved. So as you can see, if I were to crouch again, the night vision will be saved and that will be happen so we don't have to deal with this every single time. So now this wraps up most of the camera system and we can actually start working on some other parts like the power, time system and other office mechanics. Here's something I've never added before into any of my recreations, but I think it's actually quite a good feature. So as you can see in here, it detects at the location of me and if the cameras are off or if I'm in the office, and it'll teleport an entity 5 blocks in front of me. So as you can see when I look around, the armor stand will be teleported in 5 blocks where my crosshair is. And I've added a command to when you close out the cameras, it will then make you teleport in the office facing that entity, so then it saves where you're looking, which is really handy in case something's at the door and you need to save your location, which you can easily click the button. So as you can see, it continues to do that, and if I were to go down here and activate the cameras real quick so I can show this feature off to you guys and look in a random direction, say if I look up here or down there, let's say just look over there real quick and crouch and activate the cameras, I'll be looking up there. And say I'm going to look at this burger instead and crouch and open the cameras, I'm still looking at this burger when I am, or if there's an animatronic at the door and I'm getting ready for it to be arrived and I see it at the door and then say it's at the door and then I have seen it at the door, which means I can then activate the night vision, deactivate the night vision, wait for it to appear before closing the door and having my positions of where I'm facing saving. And this is not a very handy feature or required one, but I quite like it and it's very handy. So to start with the power system, we have 3 different scoreboards, one called Power Countdown, Power and Night On. So if the night is on and it matches 1, the Power Countdown matches 2 or -2 or higher, it will remove 1 from the Power scoreboard, which this will detect if it matches -2 or less, if the countdown is over, which will reset the timer. Then this command right here does the same thing, but instead of resetting the timer, at the moment it will just say digit of power has decreased. So if we click this button, as you can see, the time will start going down, and this is how long until power would run out. But if we just keep doing this and set it to 50 for a bit, as you can see in chat, after a little bit, it says a digit of power has decreased. And this is how we're going to decrease each power, because we're going to replace the /say command with a /scoreboard remove command, so then it will remove 1 digit of power from the scoreboard, from this power scoreboard right here. So we can just switch these out. And here we have an armor stand with a custom name of 100%, and it will be teleported up here to display on the monitor, just like how it's displayed in Five Nights at Candy's Remastered. And it will be equal to the power scoreboard, just like how it was in my Help Wanted recreation. So if we were to turn the night on, and in this command block it would remove 1 digit of power, so we're going to replace this /say command with scoreboard players remove @p power 1, because then it'll remove 1 digit of power when the scoreboard matches 0 or less. So if we turn on the night, as you can see, we set it back to 50. After a short period of time, 1 digit will be decreased and it now says 99%. Then after a bit more, it will then should say 97, 98 and 99. But at the moment, I've only activated these ones. And the way it does, it just detects if the score matches 99, and if it does, it will change the name of the armor stand to the corresponding level of the scoreboard. Now, this isn't the most efficient way to get this to work, but it's the only way that I have at the moment. So if I kept do that again, it would then set to 98, 97, then after this it will be to 96, but considering I haven't made that part yet, it will just stay at 97. So let's make the other remaining power digits. So as you can see, I've now completed every single digit of number from 100 to 0, and they will change the name of the armor stand to the corresponding which one they needed to. So as you can see, it goes from all the way to there to 0%. And now I've also teleported the name tag up onto the monitor to make it look like the actual monitor is actually displaying the power meter instead of being a name tag. So what we would have to do now is make it so when we would use one of the power resources, such as closing one of the doors, the power on the screen would change because the power score will decrease faster. So if we were to turn on the timer which starts the power, as you can see, it won't drain for at least 1 to 2 minutes for draining 1% if we use no power. And what we'd need to do is it would drain faster and drain power more quickly if we had all 3 doors closed and using all the office resources. And at the moment I haven't implemented that, so there's no way for the power actually to decrease in a balanced level. So now all we have to do now is to make sure the power is going to decrease faster when we are using more office resources. So the way we would get that to work is inside this command block right here, this repeating one like the others. So like usual, it will detect if the left door is closed, and if the left door or the scoreboard matches 1, it will then remove 40 digits from the scoreboard, which causes the power to move faster. So at the moment it will take like 1 to 2 minutes for a digit of power to decrease, but if I close the left door, it will start decreasing much more rapidly and much more faster, and as you can see, it starts removing power much more quicker. Now I've disabled this option at the moment just so the power doesn't decrease while we're waiting, but as you can see, it will be super fast if we close all 3 doors at the moment, because considering how fast it is when just 1 door is closed, if we had all 3 doors closed at the same time, it will decrease at a rapid rate. So if we stop that, all we have to do is copy this 2 more times and change the scoreboard to the right door and the window and the camera system. So as you can see now, I've now added the other scoreboards, which will decrease the score for the right door and the window, which will also decrease 40 digits, which will increase a lot more. Now for the camera system, it works a bit differently, because it will remove 10 digits if the night vision toggles off and the camera's on. It will just remove 10 normal digits, but if it detects that the night vision is toggled on and the cameras is on, it will remove 20 digits instead of 10 because it drains extra power than normal cameras. Now that the power can actually be drained, we need a way to stop all of the office resources from working when it hits 0. So as you can see, there's a new scoreboard called Is Power On, and I've also added these command strips over here. This will detect if the doors are closed, and if the doors are closed while the power is now no longer active, it will open up the door to make sure the door opens when the power is turned off. Same as the cameras, it will detect if you're in the cameras and it'll just quickly boot you out. Now, it's near the exact same frames from over here, and I've also added in the door command an extra execute command, and the buttons will only power if the scoreboard Is Power On matches 1. And I've also added the power out sequence. In Candies, when the door is closed, it will show you how much power that door is using. So now I'm going to make this, and just like how I used for the power, it's going to be name related. So this command block right here will detect if the right door is closed, and if it does, it will add 1 to the right door usage score, and then this will detect if the door is open, and if the door is open, it will then remove 1 from that digit so it goes back down, giving us a timer to go up or down. And then what we're going to use with this timer is display how much power it's using in these command blocks here. So this detects if there's no power, which will not make the name visible, and then if it matches 100 to 150, which is if the door is closed for at least around 5 seconds, it will then add 1 green square to the name in the color green. Then, if it matches 200 and 250, it will then be 2 squares, and then it will be 3 green squares in yellow once it reaches 300 and 350. Then, once here, it will then reach 400, 450, and be 4 red squares. And then this command block will then detect if the door then closed, and then it will remove the digit. So if I were to close the right door and show this to you guys, now that the door is now closed, as you can see, the scoreboard is now increasing by 1, and when it reaches 100, 1 green square is now added to the armor stand's name and made it into a green, so it looks like we're not using all that much power. Then when it reaches 300, it's going to change into 3 yellow squares. Then once it reaches 350 or high, it will then change it to 4 red squares, indicating we are using a lot of power and we need to open up the door. And then if I were to go back up here and close the door again, or open it back up, as you can see, the scoreboard is now decreasing, going back down, which will play these command blocks in reverse order, which will then make, instead of them going up and increasing the score and increasing how many squares there are, it will decrease the squares instead, which is very useful for me so I don't have to add 2. So now there's 2 squares remaining, and then after a short period of time, it will be 1. Then when the scoreboard reaches 0, it will then now no longer have a name, and then the scoreboard will start counting down when it reaches 0. I have now added this feature for the other doors, so if I close all the doors after a short period of time, I've also teleported the armor stand in front of them. As you can see, the power is draining super quickly, much more than it usually would, and as you can see, these green lights are now appearing at the door frame and are slowly increasing by each square the longer we keep the doors closed. And these work for all of them, including the windows, and the monitor displays how much power we have. And then if we were to open up a door when it reaches the red one and open it up, these doors will then start decreasing, and then the squares will go back to normal until we're using minimum power. And as you may notice, the power is no longer being drained at an extremely fast rate, and it's now draining normally, and the squares are now doing. So now all we have to do now is the time. This also relies on a scoreboard timer, and we have game time and time, and in game time we have 1200 ticks, and 1200 ticks is 1 minute, which is how long roughly about each hour in candies is, which means when that timer depletes, each night in candies is around 7 minutes long, which means if we times 1200 by 7, that's what we'll get. So in this command block here, it detects if the game time matches 1 or higher, and if it does, it will remove 1 from the game time, and then this will just refill it when it's over. And like the power, this will also detect when it reaches 0, which will add 1 to the time score, and when that happens, these detect if the time score matches 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which will change the clock in the office with the corresponding playhead for the corresponding time. So if the time matches 1, it'll be 1 AM, if it matches 3, it'll be 3 AM, and if it will be 6, it at the moment does nothing because you won't see the clock, it will just end the night. So if I decrease this, as you can see, the time is now decreasing for each minute, for each hour. So if we wait a bit, we don't have to wait the full minute, so I can just set it like that. It will then add 1 to the time, and the player head then changes on top of the clock, which makes it look like the 1 hour has been added. So as you can see, this goes all the way up until 5. When it reaches 5, nothing will happen, because it would usually stop the 6 AM theme, but we haven't made that yet. So now what we have to do is make it so when it hits 6 AM, the game will reset so the player can redo the night if wanted. Now with the 6 AM theme complete, this is what it looks like, and it's a pretty similar setup of how I usually use, where it will title 5 AM while we're in the black box, but it's in the spectator so the HUD isn't visible on the screen, and then it will play the note block by resetting the entire map by setting a redstone block here, and then it'll teleport us here because we don't actually have a proper way to start the night yet. So if I set a redstone block there and go back up into the build, as you can see, it's 12 AM, but if I just set the score at P to the time to, let's say, 6, it will then teleport us in here while the 6 AM theme plays in note blocks, and then it will title back into the 6 AM before teleporting us right here because we don't actually have a proper way to start the night. So this will just be temporary. So now that we've done everything we have to do with the office mechanics, we can now start working on the animatronics themselves. So here's the model for Candy, and as you can see, he uses a fair bit of armor stands to make up his unique look. And I've also marked down each of his locations throughout the restaurant as well, just so I don't have to go back and do that later. I've done each and every one of them, and I've also made it so he gets posed to do every single one of them as well. So all the way we have the default one, which is where he's just out of the map for me to make his model or anything else that I need to get him out. Here's the stage, and up here he's just sitting on the stage, where he will just be default when he's not active. Then we have something like entrance hall, and if we teleport him into the entrance hall, as you can see, he now looks like he's looking into the doorway, looking at the player ready to give them a jump scare. And then if we do something like backstage 1 or main hall 3, and as you can see, he gets teleported into this little area right here, and as you can see, I've made it so he's posed to make it look like he's facing the camera. So now all we have to do is make functionality to Candy, so then he can be completed, and we can move on to someone like Cindy. So here we have Candy's movement path, and at the moment he's just made up of these command block, with Candy's movement timer and this part. So as you can see in this command block, it detects if the Candy movement timer matches 0, which will power this comparator. This will remove 1 from the timer, and then this will refill the timer once it's completely not unfilled. This will power then adding 1 to the Candy position if he's at the stage, and if he isn't at the stage, it will then detect 1 or 2 random values, because then he has 2 paths to get to the office. So we'll then run a random value to detect if he goes to the left or right door. And then what will happen there is that these 2 command blocks will activate depending if he goes left or right. If he goes left, it will then set his pose to his left position, and if he goes right, it will do the quite opposite. So as you can see, when this goes down, once it reaches 0, the comparator will active, and it looks like Candy has decided to go to the left door. So now all we have to do now is make it so he can actually travel to the left door once he's been chosen to select to go to the left door. So here what pretty much makes up the rest of Candy's system. So once, as you can see before, when he decides to go to the left or right door to approach the office, it will then run a certain command. This is if it detects to 1, which will then set its position to 6, and then reset his random timer. This will then detect when the timer matches 0, which will do a 1 in 20 chance depending if Candy moves or not. There's a 1 in 5 chance he will move, and there's the rest of the chances is if he doesn't move, and it will add 1 to Candy's position. This detects if it matches 6 or higher, which will then just reset him entirely. And this does the quite opposite for the other door, where it detects if he goes to the right side. And if he goes to the right side, this will power, and then it will do the exact same thing only for the opposite. And then when it detects he has reached one of the doors, it will set a scoreboard to set Candy at door 1, which will then stop the main movement timer, because at the beginning I've made it so it doesn't power if the score matches 1, which now means we can add the jump scare if the player fails to close the door in time. So this system right here will now detect when Candy reaches a door. So if the Candy pose matches 5 or 6, or 5 or 9, it will then remove 1 from the Candy jump scare timer. This will then activate if the left door is either closed or open, and if it does, it will reset him if the right door is closed and restart his whole cycle. But if it isn't, it detects if the right and left door are closed or open, it will then just say. Now I've used particle effects to make Candy's eyes at the doorway, and they very much resemble how they would inside of actual Five Nights at Candy's, and they work really well, and as you can see there right there, and if I were to close the door, the particles would stop, and if I were to open that back up, they would appear again, because there's a repeating command block which will detect if this coordinate is black concrete, and if it isn't black concrete, it will stop playing those particles at the location. It's pretty simple, and it just requires 2 command blocks for each door, for the 2 sparkling eyes, and this is the command I've used for it, which is pretty simple just to play them at each door. And there's 2 for each eye like I said before, and I use the electric spark, and it also only plays if Candy's at the door. So if Candy's at the door, and he's at that corresponding door, and it's a black concrete, those eyes right there will stay there to make so the player knows when Candy's at the door without having to use the cameras. Now while we're on the topic for glowing eyes, I've also added them for the cameras when Candy turns off the night vision. So as you can see when he's at the stage and he isn't active, there's no lights, but when I turn the night vision on and he's active, the particles will play his eyes to make it look like his eyes are glowing, so you can still know and if an animatronic's in a camera when the night vision's turned off. The only difference is you can't see other details and you won't know who it is. You can't see them when they're at the door though, because that's what the eyes in the doorways are for. So as you can see, all you see is the 2 door glowing eyes in the darkness while you wait for Candy to jump scare you. So as you can see, he's now said boo, but now we need to give him a proper jump scare. And the way will that work, it will just work how most jump scares do work in my games, where these 2 command blocks will detect if Candy's entered the office, and will make the light flicker in the office while playing some sounds before setting a redstone block here, going and repeating teleporting us into the office, but playing an animation for Candy before eventually going into the game over screen and teleporting us into these 2 boxes, one where there's a newspaper with blood on it for the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is closing down, and then the other black box where you'll just be then will be teleported over there, because we once again don't have the proper requirements for it to start a night. So as you can see, if I were to show this off for you by typing in chat scoreboard placer at P Candy pause 9, because he will now be at this door, and wait a little bit, he'll eventually enter the office with a flickering light effect like that, before jump scaring me, and then I'll be teleported in front of this newspaper while it says game over, and then I'll be teleported out here, because once again we still have no proper way to start the night. Now this is how most of the animatronics will work in the game, we just have to copy them and change them. I finished Cindy because she works exactly how Candy does. The only difference is that Cindy doesn't have 2 paths to take to the office and only has 1, which makes less command blocks for Cindy to work. But other than that, she works in the exact same way, including the jump scare. The only difference is the coordinates where she teleports to and which door she has to go to. I've also added an AI system where, depending on if an AI matches through 5, 10, 15 or 20, will determine how fast the animatronics will move, and which will determine how long it will take for them to reach the office. And I didn't want to do 20 different sets of these, because then that would be way too much, and I don't want to do that. The penguin is the first character that I've made that actually doesn't rely on too many arm stands, it only is 2 armor stands, just 2 heads stacked on top of each other. Now I want to try and find a better player head for the head, but at the moment I don't have any, so when I find one I'll change it. But penguin is the first one that doesn't jump scare the player when he reaches the office. Instead, there's a 3-way random output when he reaches the office, which will then determine if he either randomly closes or opens one of the doors, which will either let in someone you don't want or close a door and drain more power. Now, once the penguin leaves the kitchen, this will be cloned into the build because the door will be opened, and then when the penguin is back in the kitchen, it will be closed again, so when the door's open, it lets you know that the penguin has exited and is somewhere else in the building. Now, Blank also works differently than the others, and he has this different setup. It's mainly like the others, where he has these 3 command blocks, which will then make a timer which will has a random value through 1 through 20. Then it will detect if he moves or not, and if he does, it will add 1 to his blank pose. And then this will change to determine if he enters the office, and when he enters the office, he'll bang on the door, and if you don't close the door in time, he'll shatter the glass, opening the window. And he'll have a bunch of different poses in this room, and the only way he exits this room is when he's on his final pose over to get to the office. And he'll be teleported back down here when he is not in the room, which is when he's going to the office. And then what we'll have to do next is shut this door in time, and he'll be teleported here, bang on the door with a quick animation before returning back to his stage 1 if we close the door in time, or not, he will jump scare the player. So now let's make that. So as you can see, this is me finishing up with Blank, and as you can see, it's pretty usual of how the other animatronics work with this a jump timer, but then there's 2 random outputs, which will detect if the door is open. This will be cloned into the build before Blank suddenly jump scares the player, and if not, he'll be punching on the door. A sound will play, like over here. This will detect if the window is closed. A sound will play while he punches on the door before resetting Blank to start and try and get the player again. Chester sits in a cove just like Foxy does in FNAF 1, although he doesn't have stages or cannot be camera stalled, and he's like the others. So what he will do, he's basically just like Cindy, but instead of him being at the stage, he will have his own little cove, and then he'll have 2 stages in that camera before making his way to the other door, which is the opposite of Cindy, which is just what this one has. And Chester is the first one to have a different armor stand for his jump scare model, because I actually can't rotate this guy's head to be perfectly for how it is in this remastered jump scare on the side like this, so this is the best I've had to do for his jump scare. And then he just has the other game over screen like the other characters do, before finally the map gets reset, and then the player can try again later. Old Candy is pretty simple and works exactly how Cindy and Chester does, but is more like Chester because he goes to the left door instead of the right one. These are actually all the commands that make him work, because he's a pretty simple character, and these are actually all the commands that actually make him. Here's his model, and he has actually no eyes, which means he's a withered animatronic and doesn't require these electric sparking eyes at the doors or in the cameras because he's a withered animatronic. He also has the AI like the other animatronics do, and I've added AI for all of the other ones as well. And he actually doesn't require all that command blocks, and most of them are actually for the jump scare animation. And Candy actually comes from the side instead of jumping at you like the others do, so he comes from the left side of the office and slides into your view before resetting and jump scaring you, which now we can bring to the final character. The rat only appears on night 6 of the game, or custom night, and actually doesn't require all that commands easier, but his positioning throughout the map took much longer than his actual function himself. He also has AI like the others, and he's a lot more positioned throughout the map than the others, and he works exactly like Candy, where he has 2 paths to go to the office, which means he can actually choose either left or right, just like Candy. And I've also learned that conditional command blocks are much better useful than using a comparator. I've also detected when he gets to the left or right door, which will then, like Candy, set a scoreboard that he's at the left or right door, and then here's the success or the fail if he decides to move or not. And then we have if he gets blocked by the right door, and this is the rat jump scare timer, which detects if he's at the door, which will remove 1 from the jump scare timer. Then these will detect if he gets blocked by the door, which will reset and try and start again, and then this will make the office lights flicker before jump scaring the player, because that's exactly how he works. In the rat jump scare, it just works how every other jump scare works. And this actually completes every single animatronic in the map, which means we can actually start working on the hub, which is something I have a pretty good idea for, and actually can't wait to show you guys my idea, and let's see how I can make it work. So just like in Five Nights at Candy's 1, we have Candy and then the text Five Nights at Candy's remastered with the underscore being replaced just like how it is. And this is using Armor Stand's custom name, and the underscore flashing is just using a hopper clock, which is changing the name with and without an underscore. Now I've also made the background look like static by cloning all these 3 in a random order every time, which will make it look like the cloning is looking like static. Concrete powder is the best we got. We also have candy with a glitching animation with the others, because just like in Candies, when you unlock it each night, a different character will be teleported in front of the home screen, which will actually detect which one it is. So as you can see, we'll be teleported here, and if I set the night to 2, Candy will be replaced with Cindy, Cindy will be replaced with Chester, Chester will be replaced with the Penguin, blank, old Candy, and then it'll just be set back to 1, which will set back to Candy again. And this just works with the detecting if the night is 1 or anything else besides 1, and if it's 1, Candy will be teleported in, and if it's not 1, the right character will be teleported in. It's just like how it works in Candy's 1. So now we actually need a way to start a night. The way I think this should work revolves around crouching, jumping, and walking. So I have a scoreboard on the side of the screen, and I have some commands that will start the night for me. So if I were to put myself inside the hub, as you can see like this, then type the command that will lock the player in the hub, scoreboard player happy player in hub 1, I'll then be infinitely teleported in the hub, and up just above my hotbar, if I jump, it will increase the page score by 1, and then it will also change what it's displaying. And if I crouch, I can also make it say new game, continue night 6, or custom night. Now if I set the night to night 1, the only options I'll have available is new game and continue night 1. If I set it to 6, I'll have the extra 6 night, and then I'll only have all of unlocked if it's 7 or higher. And this revolves around any actual number, so if it's anything below 6, it won't work. So as you can see, if I keep crouching or jumping, I can actually select which one I want. And if I was to set it to 5 and then walk forward, it will then start the night, as you can see like this, title on my screen. Now at the moment, I don't have any of the AI to actually start the night working, to get any of this working, but I do have a brief idea of how that should work. So now all I have to do is make the AI levels for the animatronics for each night. Each animatronic for each night has a preset AI value except for night 7, because night 7 is custom night where you can customize their AI value. So the AI will be different each night depending on their difficulty, ranging from night 1 to 6, and each night is pretty simple because they each have a different AI value. So on night 1 the only people active is Candy and Cindy, and it'll reset everything like the power and all of that. But on something like the other nights, the AI will be harder and get higher and higher each time. And this is actually really easy because they have a preset AI, and it will also reset the night vision, cameras page, and all of that. Rat is only active on night 1, night 6 actually, and it will only be active on that night. And now for the custom night. Custom night will teleport you into a different box, just like how I used for my Sys Location custom night video, and it'll reset all the AI values. So what I'm going to have to do now is work on the custom night. So as you can see, we have this custom night, which is pretty similar to how it was for my sister location build. And as you can see, we have each animatronic with a name tag and their AI values. And if I click this, the score will be increased by 1, and it will keep increasing by 5 for the AI value until it reaches 20. And if I were to go back down, it will keep changing, but if I click this, it will not increase anymore, and it will stay at 4. Same if I go back down. When it reaches 0, I cannot go anything below 0 because this is their AI values. And instead of making it 1 through 20, I made it 1 through 5 to make it easier on myself. And these are command block that changes the names of each character inside of the menu, and if I go too far away, the animatronics will lose their name, just like in the hub. So if we're over there, we don't want to see their names if we're not in the custom night box. Now the last thing I wanted to add is make this a few office details, and as you can see, this fan's now animating, and the way this works is just a scoreboard timer which is scrolling back and forth, and this will detect if the scoreboard's 1 or higher or 2 or higher, and then it will change the item. I've also made a sound with the fan because if we're in the office, the fan will play. I've also made a boop to the candy plush, so if you punch the candy plush's nose, it'll make a booping sound. It would usually be the poster, but the plushie works more well. I've now added sounds in my own time to this map, which gives it a bit more atmosphere, which actually completes everything I wanted to get done with this project, which actually completes everything for this whole map, which means it's now ready to be played. So let's see if we can survive a whole night in Five Nights at Candy's Remastered in Minecraft. Alright, here we are on the menu screen, and as you can see we have everything unlocked, so if we were to crouch, we can scroll through everything including the custom night, new game, continue night, but we are going to be doing the 6th night because it's not as difficult as everyone on 20, but it is at a reasonable difficulty. Alright, so here we are. First let's go to check out blank, because I have a good strat for this, and I've been doing this for an hour now and have like 20 different attempts of me failing, but I think I have the idea. So just do this, wait until someone appears at the door. If I hear it, yep, there's eyes. Who's that? Candy? I saw otherwise. Keep. Alright, it has to be gone now. Someone's still at that door. Oh, someone's there. Just have to keep the eyes for the footsteps of the old Candy and the rat. Blank's moving slowly. Thank you, Blank. No footsteps. There's someone. I think I heard someone. Yep. I think I can open that door up. Nope. Nope, someone's there. Alright, so Blank's gonna leave soon, so we're gonna have to shut that door really quickly. There's someone there. Open this door back up. I haven't heard old Candy or rat, but they could have come when I already had the door closed. There's someone there. Open this one up. No one's here. I Blank left. Now we can close the window. Alright. No one's there. Wait, no one's there. Yep, there's Blank. We can open this up. 87% power, 1 AM. We should be good to go. There's footsteps. Yep, there's someone there. We should be able to open up this door now. Blank's still not there. I can open this one up. No footsteps yet. Yep, I heard footsteps there. I was old Candy or rat. Alright, close that one. Someone's there. They should be gone now. I think I'm safe. Blank's gonna leave. No one's there. Heard more footsteps. Either rat or old Candy. I don't really know. All the footsteps are pressuring because I don't know if it's them moving or there. Alright, someone's there. Who's at this door? It's the penguin. Close the penguin. We do not want him in here. Open this door back up. Oh, no, there's someone there. Alright, Blank is just leaving, I'm pretty sure. Just caught that. No one's there. Yep, wait till we hear him bang on the door. Yep, now we can open it up. Someone's there. I think I should prioritize closing the doors and opening them. Someone was there. I heard footsteps. I think I should be safe. Someone's there. Old Candy, probably. Oh, there's someone, either Candy or Cindy. Blank still not leaving. Ooh, who's that? Alright, keep going. This should be the strat. We're at 60% power around 2 AM. This door needs to be opened up back up. Yep, that is very high. Oh, 2 there, double. We got 2 or 1. Alright, penguin. Blank's not moving. That's Chester. Hi, Chester. Alright, so I think we should have this one. 50% around 2 AM. Just keep all the doors as open as possible. Double. Oh, I keep misclicking the door buttons. Where? There's someone. Please, open. Just stay in the office, we're running out of power. Just try and use as less power as you possibly can. There's someone. Alright, Blank has to be gone. Or it's not moving. Keep waiting. Up there's someone. Penguin. You don't want him. Who? Blank. No one's. Oh, someone's there. Oh, they're Penguin and. Alright, so I've got double teamed. Oh. Go away. Open this door? No, I can't. Blank's about to leave. The Penguin. That is someone there. Close that. How are you still here, Mr. Penguin? Go away. Oh, this is stressful. Oh, I saw someone. Alright, Blank's still not leaving yet. Alright, keep waiting. Open this one up. Alright, yeah, Blank's up. Close the door. I think I heard footsteps. Yep, there's someone. Ooh, and I saw someone there. Alright, Blank's banged on the door. We can open that up now. Alright, let's wait. Close. Oh, there's the penguin. Open this door up. Should be safe. Oh, someone's there. Close the door. It's 4 AM. 35% power. Oh, God. I think we might have to sit through a power outage. Alright, just wait. There's someone. I don't know who that is. Open that one up. Blank's about to leave. Alright, try not to use the cameras. Alright, yep, he's left. Close the door. 30% power at 4 AM. Alright, close that door. Alright, Blank's gone. We can open that back up again. No one's there. No, I'll double team again. Alright, close this door. It's either Chester or Candy. Nobody's there. Open this one back up. Alright, I saw someone. Why do they always appear when I open the door instead of when the door's already closed? Open that one back up again. Close that. Blank is not moving. 22% power. 5 AM. We might be able to do this. Keep going. Alright, gotta close. Oh, close. there's the penguin. I think I got the penguin just in time. No one's there. Saw someone out of the corner of my eye. Saw someone else. You should be gone now. Blank's not. Blank. Alright, close that. Ah. I think I just got them. That was lucky, wasn't it? Alright. Penguin should be on in a second. Keep clicking a sign. Alright, someone's there. Blank's not moving. Who is... Go where? 11% power. We do not want to get in below double digits. Oh, we're in 9%. We might have to go through a power outage. Open that up. Oh no, we actually might. Oh no. 6%. We did it. Thank God. Alright, that took much longer than I expected, but it now means we can now check out the jump scares for each of the characters, and we could do the custom night if we wanted to. Like, if I walk forward, we could do this, but I'm not going to sit through that after what I've just experienced. But now that I've done this, this means we can now look through all of the other characters' jump scares.
Can I take your order? Can I take your order? Can I take your order? Can I take your order?
Now that we've finished showing off the jump scare and completed a full night in Five Nights at Candy's, this brings us to the end of today's video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And a few days ago, it was my friend Spring's birthday, so all of you guys type happy birthday Spring in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video.